You have a sister?
Yeah, a younger sister.
One day I learned that Ryoushi had a sister.
Whoa.
I never knew you had a sister.
Yeah, because I never mentioned it until now.
Huh. He had spoken of his family a fair few times thus far, but this was the first time he mentioned a sister. Something about it felt off to me. You'd think he would have told me about her sooner.
Well, what's she like? Is she a grouch like you?
After all, Ryoushi had the face of a stone-cold killer. Dang, poor Ryoushi. So, chances were high his sister had a grumpy disposition too. However,
she's nothing like me.
At this, I felt a tiny bit disappointed.
So you're saying she's cute? Well, sure, I guess. Certain people like to gush about how adorable she is.
Huh. Something about his tone gave me pause. He made it sound like the majority of people didn't think she was cute. I decided to dig a little deeper.
Does she look different from the other kids?
Ryoshi's looks were truly one of a kind. Ash-gray hair and icy blue eyes. When he said she was nothing like him, he probably didn't mean physically.
Yeah, I'd say so,
he replied in a low voice.
And in that sense, I guess she is similar to me. We're both a couple of freaks.
How so? He paused for a moment.
She has two-toned eyes.
Her eyes have two colors.
Yeah, exactly. Granted, it isn't entirely unheard of. But in her case, her irises have a vertical blue to red gradient.
Whoa. I could hear my voice go up an octave. After all, red and blue were contrasting colors. I collected myself, then asked in a calmer voice,
Is it a health condition?
I didn't mean to be rude, but I couldn't think of a nicer way to ask.
Nah. Like me, it's simply the way she was born. Her eyesight's fine, so she's really no different from anyone else.
You both must really stand out.
Yeah, you could say that. We attract attention no matter where we go.
Yeah, I bet. With looks like his, anyone would do a double take. City or countryside, it didn't matter.
So how old is she? About the same as you. She has really long hair and...
He stopped short. His eyes bored into me, and I tilted my head in confusion.
What? Come to think of it, you remind me of her.
I do?
It's not just your appearance either. It's hard to explain. Hey, careful, damn it!
Right as I tried to peer into the lake, he grabbed me by the scruff of the neck.
I was just looking at the water!
I shoved his hand away and looked down again. In the reflection of the water, Ryoushi and I didn't look all that different. Unlike me and my mother.
So what kind of personality does your sister have?
Now that I knew Ryoushi had a sister, I made a point of asking about her every now and then. Her likes and dislikes, the books she read, the things that made her sad. The more I learned about her, the more real she felt, even if she wasn't here. But I quickly hit a dead end. Why? Because Ryoushi didn't know much about her to begin with. And for good reason. When she was almost 10, she moved away with her mother to a different country, while Ryoushi moved here by himself. They hadn't seen each other in several years. As for why he chose this town specifically...
Our family owns a summer home out here. We used to come here every year.
He made it sound like an afterthought. Apparently his family was loaded. For the first time in my life, I was grateful that this stupid backwoods town was a tourist trap. Otherwise, I never would have met Ryoushi and learned about his sister. Not that I'd ever admit this to Ryoushi directly, of course.
So that's her? Yep, that's my sister.
Huh. One day, Ryoushi was thoughtful enough to bring a photo of his sister so I could see her. Probably because I kept asking about her all the time.
You look a little younger here. Do I?
It was a photo of the two siblings together. I looked from younger Ryoushi to current Ryoushi and back again. In the photo, he still had the same icy blue eyes and ash gray hair.
Yeah, except you have the same grouchy face.
He flicked my forehead.
This dude really needs to learn not to hit people just because they said something he didn't like. Then again, I guess that applies to me too.
To distract myself, I looked back at the photo. I could see a small girl next to Ryoushi. She looked to be under 10 years old. Her light brown hair looked thick and soft, and she wore ribbons on either side of her head. Her pure white dress suited her doll-like aesthetic. It was my first time seeing her, yet for some reason, she made me think of the past.
She really does have strange eyes.
Her eyes were unlike anything I'd ever seen. Not like mine, not like Ryoshi's, and of course not like my mother's. They had a shine that was all her own.
They seem less red and more pink.
I ran a finger over her eyes. Her expression carried a hint of sadness.
She's really pretty.
It was the honest truth of how I felt. She sparkled like a gem. If my mother saw her, she'd give her a big hug and say, "You look like a princess!"
So why do you care about me so much?
Huh? Now you ask me that.
I looked up at him.
At first I thought you must be pretty bored to hang out with some kid this late at night. But the truth is, you have a reason for doing it, right?
Not really.
He answered brusquely, averting his gaze. As usual, he sucked at hiding things. But he seemed to realize I had seen through him because he hastily shot back.
What about you? Why do you want to know about my sister, huh?
Because she's a fairy tale protagonist.
What?
Well, okay, that's part of it. But it's not just that. I want to know about her because she's a princess I've never met.
What?
Ryoshi's the real one here, like, what are you talking about?
He repeated his question. This annoyed me. What was his problem?
Don't you roll your eyes at me, kid. It's not my fault I don't understand your stupid metaphor.
Whatever. You don't have to.
I turned my face away. The one time I tried to open up to him, he was too stupid to get it. Was it really that abstract? Immediately after the loud sigh, the chilly wind blew his cigarette smoke in my direction.
I don't know if she's a princess, but she's a lot more gifted than I am. She can do just about anything. Our parents really trust her. They spoil her rotten.
More than you? Did you choose to come out here and study to be a hunter because you wanted to get away from her? Gotcha. You never really wanted to be a hunter at all, did you?
I'm still just an intern. You know. Well, not even that, really.
He let out a self-deprecating laugh.
So basically, you resented your more talented sister for not having to carry on the family legacy because she was a girl. But aren't female hunters pretty common these days?
I didn't know any myself, but according to my mother, they definitely existed.
I mean, isn't your mom a hunter too?
Yep.
Well, I think I can understand how you feel. It sucks being constantly compared to someone else. You're your own person, you know.
Thanks.
For what?
Just felt like saying it.
Say, Huntsman, if you've lost your way, then allow me to give you a hint.
What?
Let's play a game.
What?
I said let's play a game. I'll give you a riddle, and I want you to solve it.
And if I win?
I'll tell you my secret.
He paused to think for a moment.
If I can guess the right answer, will you stop doing this crap?
What crap?
You know what I'm talking about. Wandering around alone at night.
Oh, that. I'll think about it.
Don't just think about it. I want you to promise me.
Okay, I promise.
At this, Ryoushi let out a sigh.
Fine. I'll play your little game.
You really don't have a life, do you?
And neither do you.
It's something that doesn't make sense. Something anyone may possess. But the moment you obtain it, it ceases to exist. Anyone can have one, but when you open your eyes, it will vanish without a trace.
The hell was that?
A riddle.
That's the riddle.
His face stiffened and I couldn't help but laugh.
Well, good luck.
Poor Ryoshi's too much of a dum-dum.
From that night forward, Ryoushi would ask questions about the riddle.
It's something that doesn't make sense. Something anyone may possess, but the moment you obtain it, it ceases to exist. Anyone can have one, but when you open your eyes, it will vanish without a trace. You say this is a riddle, but I don't even know where to start.
The whole point of a riddle is for you to figure it out yourself. Think about the meaning of the word.
When I went home that night, I left him with a disgruntled scowl on his face. The next night...
A riddle is a quiz in which clever wordplay is generally the answer.
Apparently, he went and looked into the literal meaning of the word. He may have looked like a delinquent punk, but evidently he was actually a hard worker.
I think I get the gist. Basically, you want me to figure out what it is, right?
Well, what is it?
Yet again, he failed to answer. Based on our conversations thus far, I had known he wasn't too well versed in this sort of thing. But I didn't realize he was this dense. It was really killing my fun.
Fine, you leave me no choice. I'll give you a little hint. It can mean different things, but it can also mean the same thing. Well, figured it out yet?
It was the biggest hint I could possibly give him, yet he still didn't quite get it.
How could I possibly figure it out from that?
God, Huntsman, you're so dumb.
He smacked me over the head.
You're the one who can't answer a stupid riddle. Seeing as you gave me a book the other day, I had assumed you'd like to read.
Sulking, I rubbed my head.
Sure, I read, but only boring shit like reference books.
What about when you were a kid? What did you read back then?
I don't remember.
Well, try!
Is this your way of giving me a hint?
Who knows? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't.
Alright, smartass.
Once you know the answer, it'll all make sense.
If I knew the answer, I wouldn't need your hints.
Ugh, how are you so dumb? Ugh!
He smacked me again. Then the next night...
Nope, wrong answer.
Yet again, Ryoushi had failed to bring me the right answer.
You're so dense, Huntsman.
I'm not good at this stuff, alright?
It's okay, man. I wouldn't. If I didn't have like multiple choice question, I don't think I would get it either. So I feel you.
You're trying too hard. You need to think outside the box.
Outside the box, he says.
And so the nights passed as Ryoushi struggled to solve my riddle. It wasn't exactly exciting, but anything was preferable to the nights I spent here alone.
Has your sister ever begged you to read her a bedtime story?
Then one night, after we talked about the riddle, I asked yet another question about his sister.
Another question about my damn sister.
Yep, another question.
He looked utterly aggravated. To be fair, I had asked him questions about her every single night since he first mentioned her, so I could understand the irritation. But I couldn't help it. I needed to ask. Unfortunately, he didn't seem to have figured it out yet.
No, she's never asked for that. Like I said, there's an age gap between us, so I haven't really talked to her much.
And yet you know that she likes to read. I bet if I asked her the riddle, she would have answered right away.
He didn't seem to appreciate the comparison because he scowled slightly. This was a feeling I could relate to painfully hard, because I didn't like being compared to others either.
You're a lot like me, Huntsman. You hate the color red, and you've come to resent your fairy tale protagonist.
I don't get what you're talking about.
And you're quick to lie, too.
Sadly, like all good things, our fun times together eventually came to an end.
I finally figured it out.
One night it finally happened.
Something anyone may possess, but the moment you obtain it, it ceases to exist. Anyone can have one, but when you open your eyes, it will vanish without a trace. The answer is a dream.
Correct.
Hooray!
Having finally guessed correctly, Ryoushi heaved a giant sigh of relief and shrank down into a little ball.
I'm impressed you finally got it. I thought you never would.
Liar.
He grumbled up at me. Normally, he was always looking down at me, so this made for a nice change of pace.
You were giving me hints the whole damn time, weren't you?
His voice carried a tiny hint of amusement.
I don't know why you had me do this, but a promise is a promise, kid. You better stop coming out here by yourself at night.
Huntsman, why do you think a kid like me is out here so late?
I couldn't let myself cling to him.
What is this, another riddle? Give me it. Because you don't want to be at home, right?
Right. Just like you.
I couldn't let myself ask for his help. If I cared about him at all, I was better off cutting ties entirely.
Is it your parents? If they're hurting you or something?
No.
My voice came out unusually sharp.
It's my fault. I disobeyed my mother. She told me not to go outside, but I didn't listen. I'm a bad kid. It's no wonder Mother hates me now.
Where is your mom right now? At home?
Yeah.
Fine then. Let's go.
Ryoushi rose to his feet and offered me his hand.
Go where?
To your house. I know it's rude to barge into a stranger's home in this day and age, but at this point, I can't pretend this doesn't concern me. Yeah, you probably should have obeyed your mother, but for whatever it's worth, I don't think you're a bad kid at all.
But what if it turns out I am?
Then I'll shoulder the blame right along with you.
I rose to my feet without his assistance.
Whoever fights with monsters should see to it that he does not become a monster in the process. For if you gaze long enough into an abyss, the abyss will gaze back into you.
What? Where did that come from?
You don't recognize it? It's a quote from that book you gave me.
Come to think of it, that does sound vaguely familiar. So what about it?
You're too nice to me, Huntsman.
I couldn't drag him down with me. Despite all his nagging, he was a kind person deep down, and if he learned the truth, he'd regret ever speaking to me.
Hey! Where are you?
Come on, Huntsman. It's time for you to receive your prize. I'm going to show you my secret.
It's a hell of a secret.
Welcome to my home. You're the first visitor we've ever had.
Why does it...
As soon as I opened the door, Ryoushi started to gag. No surprise there. I was used to it since I lived here, but for a visitor it was probably a bit too much. After all, the whole house reeked of garbage and decay. I never wanted anyone to have to see this, but a promise was a promise.
I'm home, Mother. I brought a friend with me today.
As we walked inside, I called out to my mother, sleeping in the living room. Naturally, I would need to introduce her to my new friend.
Are you...
Ryoushi froze on the spot, his face as white as a sheet.
What's wrong? Get over here already.
Upon closer inspection, I realized his legs were shaking. No surprise there either. After all, Ryoushi had a weak stomach when it came to this sort of thing, so I really didn't blame him for feeling frightened.
Have you lost your mind?
His voice trembled.
I'm not sure what you're talking about, Huntsman.
Hard to lose something I didn't have to begin with. Ever since the day I discovered the truth, I realized that my entire existence was a mistake.
Right, Mother?
I called out to her as she slept. Naturally, she didn't answer.
Is that...
Ryoushi struggled to find his voice.
This is my mother. My only family.
His expression twisted. The way he stared at us, you would think he was looking at some kind of hideous monster.
Mother, this is Ryoushi Arisu. Doesn't his name remind you of your favorite fairy tale protagonist? He has a little sister, too. I just know you'd like her. Even I can tell she looks like a princess.
Hold on a minute!
Ryoushi shouted.
Now listen here. That may have been your mother at one point, but not anymore.
It's not?
You can talk to it all you want, but it won't talk back. Because that's not a person. It's a corpse!
At this, I carefully examined my mother. There was no sign of her former beauty beneath all this ugliness.
So she's dead, huh? Say, Huntsman, what is death, anyway? I mean, sure, she's not beautiful anymore. But in my heart, she's still pretty. In my heart, she still loves me. So can you truly say that she's dead?
Damn right I can! You may have your memories of her, but without a living body of her own, she's not alive!
I laughed through my nose. Classic Ryoushi.
If you need your own body to count as alive, then maybe I'm dead too.
What are you even...
Just then, I spotted the apple pie on the table.
Oh, I know. We can share the apple pie Mother made for me. Want some?
This pie was her specialty, but now it was...
Stop! Don't do
I ignored his warnings and took a bite.
No matter how many times I try, I'll never get used to this taste.
With each bite, I fought the urge to puke. But ultimately, my stomach rejected it anyway. Tears blurred my vision.
Yeah, I guess I can't eat it anymore.
After all, the apple pie was as rotten as my mother's corpse. Come with me! The next thing I knew, Ryoushi grabbed me by the arm. Considering how frightened he was, I was surprised he was still trying to protect me.
I can't.
With a smile, I shook my head.
Now do you understand? I lost my sanity a long time ago.
That's not...
Who killed Mother? It was me. I killed Mother.
The day I disobeyed her and went outside. I came back to find her staring at me with cold, unfeeling eyes. A chill ran down my spine. Then my heart began to pound and my palms started to sweat. I put a hand on her shoulder and called out to her. But she didn't move a muscle, and her body felt like ice. I couldn't believe it. I refused to believe it. But real life was not that merciful. I was weak and powerless to do anything. In the end, Snow White was neither a princess nor a prince.
With that in mind, do you still want to help me?
You're damn right I do. I don't know what happened here, but like I said earlier, I don't think you're a bad kid. Yes, you have a foul mouth and an attitude problem. Yes, you're a fickle little brat. I've never liked kids, and talking to you hasn't changed them. But the more time I spent with you, the more fun I started to have. Why? Because you're a good person who cares about others. Why else? You're always thinking of other people. You care about me, and you even care about a little girl you've never even met. You know, despite our age difference, I've come to think of you as a friend, or like a little brother. I don't know what you've been through, but at the very least I can hear you out.
Thanks. I think of you as a friend too.
He was the first and only person to acknowledge me as an individual.
You said you're not fit to be a hunter, but I think you might be wrong about that. Sure, you're tactless, outspoken, nosy, and utterly dense, but you carry yourself with conviction and a strong sense of compassion. It's not like a hunter's entire job is to look at blood all day, right?
I shook my head and stepped away from him.
Sorry to say, I'm going to die here.
What? What are you...
I picked up a piece of the apple pie on the table.
Do you know what this is? It's my poison apple. You know, like in the fairy tale with the princess as white as snow. Surely even you must know that one.
She was one of my mother's favorite princesses, and she was my namesake.
Then again, I'm a guy, so I can't be a princess.
In the fairy tale, the queen transforms into an old hag to give Snow White an apple. When she takes a bite, she falls to the floor and never opens her eyes again. Poor, sweet princess. Rejected by her own mother.
With one bite, Snow White will cease to exist.
Cease to exist?
Ryoushi scoffed. He didn't seem to understand what I meant. Then he took a step forward.
Stay back!
He froze in place. Come to think of it, this was quite possibly the loudest I'd ever shouted in my entire life. I looked him in the eyes and spoke, my voice perfectly calm.
This is for the best. As long as I'm around, everyone who isn't me will be miserable. If I can shoulder the burden of these painful memories so no one else has to, then so be it. Huntsman. Thank you for everything. Our time together was short, but I had fun. Thanks to you, I now have some happy memories of my very own. Memories I don't have to share. Oh, and about the cigarettes, I figured it out. You hate smoking, but you do it anyway so you can have at least one thing in common with your parents, right? You want to prove to the world that you really are their son. Trust me, I can relate, because I feel the same way.
I wanted her to see me as me. Not as a princess or prince, but as Snow White.
Oh, and your sister, Yurika Arisu. I wish I could have met her.
A princess I never knew. A princess with pretty eyes. Every time Ryoushi told me about her, my curiosity deepened. She was the fairy tale protagonist my mother always wanted.
Bye-bye.
And with that I took a bite at the apple pie. The poison coursed through my body and consumed my consciousness.
Snow White!
Ryoushi screamed my name. No one else had ever called me that. Not even my mother. As I began to black out, his voice slowly faded. Blood made him uncomfortable, yet he approached me nonetheless. I wanted to reach out to him, but I couldn't. My body refused to cooperate. And then everything went dark.